Well, hello everybody. I'm out again on another mystic ramble. It's quite a short one, this one, but that's mainly because I wanted to spend a bit of time here because this place has got a lot of really interesting stories to it. So I'm parked on the road in between Apple Tree Wick and sort of Stump Cross Caverns, and if you did want to make it a longer walk, you could easily put this onto the end of our last walk, which was up Simon's Seat, which we can see just there. So you could extend it out, but obviously I want to do a bit of filming and stuff today, so I thought I'd give this a bit of time. So here's what's coming up. So today we're exploring the enigmatic and atmospheric Troller's Gill, a place full of story and awe and with a name to match. We're going to drop down to Skyholme, follow the river until we get to the gorge itself, and then make our way through its gloomy passage. We'll discover what dark secrets this place holds, from the stories of roaming beasts that search for lonely souls to the trolls that ambush unsuspecting travellers. And we'll take a look at the very real mystery that still takes place in the gorge that only a rainy day can expose. Oh, that sounds exciting, doesn't it? You'll just have to listen to me blather on a bit first, but it'll be worth it, I promise. Well, it's definitely autumn, and as ever on my walks I packed in a rush because I was a bit busy and lazy, and I've forgotten my gloves, which is annoying because it's quite cold up here, but I'm hoping our main walk is going to take place down there, so we're dropping down, so I'm hoping it'll be a bit warmer down there anyway, and if not, it's just a lesson learned, isn't it? So it's pretty immediate from where I parked. We can see our destination where we're heading down there. I actually want to backtrack a little bit because I want to walk right up the valley so that we get a good sort of immersion into the area, and we can think about the stories and we can try and get the atmosphere going. It's quite an atmospheric day for it today. It's a little bit overcast, a little bit grey, and I think that's going to lend itself well to being in the gorge. So at the moment we're heading down to Skyholme, I don't know, Scandinavian sounding name, which you know, that with Troller's Gill probably gives you some sort of indication as to who settled here, and you know, place names often carry that history with them, and certainly some of these stories are inspired by settlers from abroad who came here many years ago. Walking down this way, we already get a glimpse of our route in front of us there, so we're just going to drop down a little bit further south of that so we can pick it up and walk right along the valley bottom. Got the obligatory Yorkshire Dales sheep hut in the background, obviously. Ooh. Nearly. Once you're in the valley, you soon come to the grounds of Parville Hall, which is a lonely estate now drawing visitors to its park and gardens. This place has its own stories and is reputed to be haunted. Accounts state that horses that were left in the stables became agitated when they were taken towards it, and then by the morning they'd be frothing at the mouth and had been driven mad by whatever they'd seen. Others had also reported seeing a ghost of an unknown little girl that haunts the ground. There's not many reports of hauntings around today, and these accounts are old, but worth keeping your eyes peeled just in case there is something still there. Okay, so we've picked up the path from Parville Hall and we're now heading up beside Skyholme Beck up into the gorge. Now, there's a couple of gorges up here, I think, and they've got some very interesting characteristics to them. They're limestone, so Yorkshire Dales often has limestone as its bedrock, and because of the way it weathers and, you know, erodes, it creates some really interesting things. And Troller's Gill has got one of, well, a very interesting thing, and you can kind of see why it became a place of fascination for local people, and we'll discuss that in a bit. So the valley quickly changes character as soon as you get out of the sort of grounds of Parville Hall, and already we can see one of the unique features here, which is these caves. So there's a lot of old mining happened here, and I think some of them probably due to natural erosion of the limestone, but we'll see if we can get to that one. I don't think there's a clear path, but there's plenty of caves along the way. It looks like there is a path down there. It's unmanageable at the moment because of the bracken, but I might see if I can get down to it in a different spot. It's quite, even though we're in autumn, the bracken is quite grown up still. I think in summer it'd be an absolute nightmare here. Tick heaven. Right, I reckon we can muscle our way down here and go and see that cave. So I'm just going to try and get through where it looks a bit weaker. There's a few sheep about, so they've obviously made a few paths. But yes, these caves are quite important to this story because it's believed to be the residence of the beast that haunts these valleys. And that beast goes by the name of the Barguest. No, not the guy who sits in your local pub sipping on his ale. This is a different thing altogether. The Barguest is believed to be a creature of ancient origin that seeks out people in the lonely dales and feasts upon them. Right. Can we get across here? Doesn't look too deep, I don't think. There we go. Yes, it certainly seems as though someone's been up here. We've got the obligatory rubbish left strewn around. And we've got evidence of a fire. Let's go and have a check out. A fire and a plate, as if someone's been enjoying some food. This cave is not very far reaching, this one, so it wouldn't house a wild beast, I wouldn't say, but it would provide a bit of shelter for campers. So it's a bit of a creepy feeling to it, and there's little noises sounding off in the cave, and beside it here we have another one, not very deep, but there is a can of something that's been eaten there. So that's the first of these caves. I wonder if they were perhaps fruits of mining that didn't prove very fruitful, and so they didn't continue the exploration, but I'm not sure. We've got plates strewn about over here. Someone's had a right old time of it. Right, we will continue on our journey up the valley and up to Gill.
The valley gets more dramatic as you continue to walk up it. The sides grow steeper, the river becomes wilder, and everything takes on an added note of drama. The path is easy and follows Skyholme Beck as it twists and turns up the valley, and if you look closely enough and let your imagination guide your mind, it's even possible that you might spot a troll yourself, made from the very limestone of the place. It's not too long a walk from Parville Hall before the valley begins to close to a head and the land steepens all around. In early autumn, this place was so atmospheric. The trees were beginning to shed their leaves and their branches were ripe with berries.
Right, time for a bit of a wildlife update then. So we're deep in the valley now. This is a beautiful spot, really atmospheric. And it has got that bit of a creepy feel to it actually, because there's no one else here. I mean, I know it's a Tuesday and it is October, but you know, a place like this, incredible to get it all to yourself. Anyway, sidetracked. Wildlife update. What have we got? Well, there's sheep, not wildlife, I know, but plenty of those. We've got lots of jackdaws floating around. I've had a red kite swooping overhead, but more poignant to this place is we've had some, they're either fieldfares or redwings, I couldn't quite tell. They were a thrush-like bird, plenty of them sitting in the trees, feasting on all those berries that are available this year. And I think that's quite poetic in a way, because they're, you know, they've come over for the winter from Scandinavia and places like that to settle here to get food and fed and make a little life for a little while. Well, that's what the original settlers here did. The Scandinavians that came over and named this place Gill, a name that has continued on to this day. And there you go, poetry in motion. Right, we're just rounding the corner now. It's you know, pretty straightforward little path this, a little bit rocky in places, but no perilous drops or anything like that as we're in the valley bottom. And we're just going to continue on until we get to the head of the Gill. So this whole area is dotted with little caves. There's another one up there where the birds are. And you know, I think these sort of mysterious holes, they're probably partly inspire these stories, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what might be down there. So yeah, looks like we have hit the entrance of Troller's Gill. And here it is, the limestone cleft in the otherwise impenetrable wall. And yeah, interesting place. Look at this. The river that runs, or doesn't run. It's completely dry. And now that is because of the peculiarity of the limestone. So this has obviously been cut out by millennia of water running through it. But as it has done so, and is the nature of limestone, it's continued to do so. So what happens now is there's a beck further up, which then disappears underground and goes into the chasms that have been eroded through many, many years, and then comes out again at the beck. So if you get a really, really heavy day of rainfall, sometimes this beck will flow again. And that's, you know, we understand this scientifically, but for people in the past who may not have had such a grasp of it, that's a mystery in itself, isn't it? That is a strange phenomena that happens. And again, we go back to that idea that it's these places that have got something just a little bit unique, a little bit different, that stories attach themselves to. Look at that, looks pretty creepy up there, doesn't it? Eh? Let's go and have a look and see what it's all about.
It's quite easy to see why this place became a focal point for tales and stories. It sticks out in the landscape as something similar but different, something that holds more than a whiff of the uncanny about it, and probably some danger to those who are not used to this sort of environment. The closed nature of the Gill, along with the caves and natural holes in the landscape, also adds to this feeling that it could be a lair for something otherworldly, something that if you did come across in it, you might not be able to escape from.
So, Troller's Gill. We sort of need to talk about that name a little bit to understand what it's all about. So, troll, obviously. Now, that is one version of one story that takes place up here. And that is that there are trolls and evil spirits. So a troll is really a Scandinavian word for a fairy or any sort of mystical being. It's not necessarily a troll like we would think of it today. And these trolls would wait for people to pass through the Gill and throw rocks down onto them, which, you know, looking at the surroundings, you can kind of see why this story came about. Now that is definitely brought over from Scandinavia, and what I find fascinating about that is that these original people who settled here probably were looking for some sort of similarity to their home that they'd left behind. And these places, these obscure little areas that maybe held a shadow of what their homeland was like, became focal points for these stories. But interestingly, there is other stories that conflict this as to where the name came from. And this is what we learn through folklore. These stories seem to take on a bit of a mind of their own and become different things through time. So we're going to get onto that other story in a bit, but first of all, we're going to have a little explore up Troller's Gill.
Whilst researching this place, and as with most of these places, I've come across a few different theories as to why the Gill is named Troller's Gill. Firstly, there's the obvious one, and that is that it's the lair of a troll. Makes sense. The second is that it actually refers to a troll's behind, and therefore Trollers means troll bum, but using the version of bum that sounds like a horse-like creature, if you catch my meaning. Wikipedia threw up its own version that Troller was actually a derivative of the word stroller, so it's actually more like Walker's Gill. Boring, I know. And another suggests that Troller was the name of the man in the story about the Barguest, and he gave his name to the Gill. As we tend to find on these walks, there's no definitive answer to this. All are correct, all are wrong. It just depends on what you want to believe and what you want to imagine whilst you're in such an enigmatic place. Now, the keen-eyed among you might see that on some of the shots here, there is water in the beck, whereas on others there's none. This is because I came back to get some more shots after a night of rain, and guess what? The stream was in full flow.
Again, I think it's another good walk for the little uns. They'd love it, scrambling up all this, climbing through all this jumble of rocks. It'd be great fun for them. And you know, it's really impressive. There's lots of climbing routes up here apparently. But yeah, it's a really nice place. Oh look, I think we have another cave up there. I'm just going to go up and have a look at that. It's all about exploration today, not the miles. Really, it's quite a short distance that we're covering today. It's probably only 3 miles, 4 miles, something like that. But it's all about the exploration of this place. Right, let's go up and have a look. This definitely looks like it would hide a demon hound. Let's go and have a look. Yes, I don't know if we... Oh yes. Oh no, again, it's just a shallow cave. The start of a mining tunnel maybe. So yes, the Barguest, or the Bargeist, which it thinks could translate to Berggeist, which is a mountain ghost. But that is a spectral dog, one of the great spectral dogs. There's plenty of them in UK folklore. We've got Black Shuck, obviously, in Norfolk and Suffolk. And yeah, Yorkshire is full of stories of Barguest. So it feels to me as if they're another import from Europe, especially with the sort of direct translation that we can pick up from that. And they are a hellhound. Something that people describe as a big black shaggy dog with saucer-like glowing eyes. I mean, can you imagine seeing that up here? It'd be absolutely terrifying. You would want to run for your life, but you wouldn't be able to. So, yes, and there is a very well-known story of the Bargeist of Troller's Gill.
So there are actually 2 well-known accounts of this beast. The first concerns a cobbler from nearby Thorpe who decided to walk the gorge one night. He was already in hiding as he'd just seen the wild hunt charge past on the lookout for unbaptised souls when he saw the Barguest appear. He described it as being as big as a littleish bear, and, in this account, it had a yellowish coat. Barguests can be seen in many forms, from hares to donkeys and everything in between, but this one was always in the form of a large dog. He described it as having a shaggy sort of smell about it. Luckily, he'd unwittingly put the small stream between himself and this beast, not realising that this creature could not cross the water. This ensured that this man survived his encounter with the Barguest. The next man, Troller, who some say gave his name to the Gill, was not so lucky. He set out to challenge this beast, leaving his home at midnight. When he arrived at the Gill, he set up under a yew tree, and using some magic, this man, Troller, decided to draw a magic circle around himself for protection. He then called out and made his challenge, thinking that these old traditions would keep him safe. He was wrong. The sky grew stormy, and a wind began to whirl about him. Then the waters of the beck began to flow more and more, with more power, until the stream was a raging torrent. A flash of light preceded the beast's appearance as it made its way out of one of the dark clefts in the wall of the cliff. It made an awful sound that was described as a mix of shrieks and wild barks, which terrified the poor man, who by now must have been questioning his decision to challenge this Barguest. Its huge, saucer-like eyes glowed in the night as it moved towards its target, all the while making that terrible sound. Troller's circle would offer no protection to him that night. The next morning, Troller's body was found in the Gill by a local shepherd, his face still frozen in terror. It was reported that marks were impressed on the dead man's chest, but they seemed not by mortal hand. This account was still being told in the early 20th century when the local community recalled the tales of this creature, some still holding them to be true. Now these stories are so ingrained in this area that I've read that it was Sherlock Holmes' inspiration for the Hound of the Baskervilles, as he had heard the tale when he was visiting his mother who lived nearby. But please don't hold me to this fact, because I have actually heard other versions as well.
This is a really atmospheric place. And just listen to that. Silence, apart from one sheep who was doing his best to scare me, because his voice was doing that thing where they sound like part human, part animal. Thanks, matey. But it's such an atmospheric place just standing in the middle of it here. And I've got myself whispering because it feels like I should be. All these big walls either side of you. What a spot. So yes, two tales. One of a man who survived his encounter, one who was not so lucky. It feels like there's a sort of, and I'm sure this is the walls on either side, sort of deadening sound and making you feel enclosed, but it feels like there's a kinetic energy here, like we're waiting for something to happen. It's that sort of silence before the big pop, the calm before the storm. And it's great. It's so untouched, and this like empty riverbed adds to that drama. Yeah, it's a pretty good, fascinating place. Through the main part of Troller's Gill, and I've just got to the spot in the river where we lose the water. So we are dry here, and then we continue walking, come up here and see a little trickle of water, and up to a full beck. Quite a peculiar little feature on this walk. But there we go. Right, so I'm going to continue on for a little bit, and then I'm probably going to come back through the Gill again. You know, I don't normally do that on walks. I normally do a circular, but I enjoyed that spot, so I'm going to come back through the same way. By the time we get up here, we've got full flowing river again. And I think that's, I think we're not far from Stump Cross Caverns and all of that. So there's probably massive underground chambers around here that are just the water's all feeding into. And then, as so often happens in the Dales, you're out of the Gill and you're out onto the moor again. And you've got them views stretching out all the way around. Beautiful. But I was going to carry on just up a little way, pick up the road, which is just there, and head back to the car that way. But I think I'm going to go back down the Gill, just to soak in its atmosphere a little bit more. So like I say, this walk in itself is pretty short really. A few miles, 3 or 4 miles I suppose, and you can extend it as you want, but if you want a big day out full of interest, I'd definitely suggest combining it with Simon's Seat and then back round to like Barden Bridge or wherever you parked from there. That'd be a good big walk day out, a good 10, 11 miles I suppose, maybe a bit more. So if you've stuck around this far, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you've enjoyed it, please give us a like. We all know that's how YouTube works, and if you really like it, don't forget to subscribe as well. And I would love to have some comments from you. YouTube's a community. There's a lot of weird people out there, such as myself, all interested in these sorts of things. So give us a few stories of your own, or a few suggestions of where I could go. And you know, that'd be great. I'd love that. So I suppose it's that time to say until next time, keep being weird, keep looking into the darkness, and keep questioning everything. All right, until next time, I'll see you out there on the trails. Have a good one. Yeah, look at all this. Quite a lot of old mining paraphernalia, and that definitely looks like there's been a bit of a collapse there. But there is another cave just above it. That goes a long way back, that one. So there you go, plenty to explore up at Troller's Gill. And look at this, we've still got Simon's Seat taking prominent position overlooking us. And like I say, a bit more time on your hands, that'll make a beautiful walk. So there we go, another beautiful walk in beautiful Yorkshire, checking out some stories that have lasted hundreds of, if not thousands of years. Remember to keep your mind focused on the good stuff. All right, there's my car down there. All right, so I better be getting off. You take it easy, and I shall see you out on the trail. Bye.